Hey there, it's Norforsaken, and welcome to the second installment of Lyrics on the Go, as I kind of give a little backstory and explainer to a number of the tracks that I have for my upcoming album, Never Be the Same. So sit back, enjoy, and I hope you enjoy this behind the scenes kind of story of the title track of my album, Never Be the Same. So I mentioned in my last video, I really enjoy television shows and I enjoy movies, and one of my favorite parts of television shows and movies are Easter eggs. So in a lot of the songs that I've written, I've also incorporated Easter eggs. Many of them are references to shows, to movies, sometimes other songs or bands that for me are huge influencers. So in this particular lyric that we just listened to, a leaf on the wind that's blowing, many of you who are fans of the cult classic television show by Joss Whedon, Firefly, may also be a fan of the movie that was based on that show called Serenity. And in that show, the pilot, Wash, is played by Alan Tudyk, who's fantastic. Kind of does these maneuvers with the ship, the Firefly ship called Serenity. And whenever he does that, he says that he's a leaf on the wind. And, that's just such an iconic line. So when I wrote this particular lyric, I had that in mind. I wanted to use that kind of as an Easter egg. So the leaf on the wind that's blowing is an homage to Wash in Serenity and Firefly, that he's a leaf on the wind. So yeah. Never Be the Same is actually one of the first songs that I ever wrote as I started to write music. And kind of what I wanted to portray was this feeling of desperation and this feeling of understanding that in one's action there could be consequences that are irreversible, and it kind of goes along with the theme of the album from the first song in the track, or the first track in the album, I'm sorry, into Never Be the Same. Kind of goes along the same feeling of I did something and my action was so detrimental and it was so negatively affecting everything around me that what I've done, though maybe sorrowful, right, there's irreparable damage, and there's things and consequences that can never be undone. I always say sometimes there's when you do something or say something, or you cross a particular line, you ring a bell that can never be unrung, because when you ring a bell, that's it. The sound waves just go forth into the space and into the atmosphere. And although you might be sorrowful and although you might regret your actions, sometimes those actions and the repercussions of those actions can never be undone. So that was really the concept that I kind of wanted to portray and try to communicate in this song is, sometimes when you do something, whether on purpose or by accident or not intentional, or sometimes intentional, repercussions are forever. I mentioned in another video that when I initially wrote all my songs and all the music, initially it was designed just to be acoustic. vocals and a guitar. That's kind of how I initially envisioned it. But as I kind of started experimenting with recording and possibilities of sound and just venturing out into trying new things, this was the first song that I went in and started incorporating other musical elements. I'm a huge fan. Well, let me say I'm a huge fan of all genre. Honestly, I love every genre of music that there is. There isn't a genre, style, or type of music that exists that I do not like or appreciate. Others I'm more fans of course, right? But I'm not the type that I just listen to one type of music. I literally like it all, from country to hip hop to rock, bluegrass, Bollywood, sea shanties, opera, classical. Literally, there's no genre of music that I don't love, or find some sort of artistic merit in and pull influence from. But in this particular song, how I wanted to kind of like portray it with the understanding and the context of the theme of the song, I wanted it to be sound kind of like that like 1990s alternative rock or grunge sound to it. Think like Bush or Nine Inch Nails or something like that. So that was kind of like the sound I was going for. So I incorporated very heavy guitars into it, and that's why it starts with a very heavy bass initially, which for me was really fun because I love the bass and the bass sound. And I love when songs are very minimalistic and just kind of like sometimes just have a bass and maybe like another one or two other musical elements to it. So that's kind of what I wanted to play around with. So what I was trying to go for was like this 90s grunge alternative rock sound to it, and this was my first step into trying that, and I think it came out pretty okay. You let me know. So yeah, again, the song was really written about, again, actions that were taken and being results that can never be undone. And that's why I wanted to kind of portray that imagery of putting water over a flame. Once you put water on fire, it's done. You put water on, like, let's say a campfire. Once that wood is soaked, unless it dries out significantly, you're not going to get fire from it again. And the imagery of the broken pictures in the frame is just something that I wanted to portray, that once something is broken, even though you try to mend it, there's always going to be those weaknesses and those weak parts to it, that will be subject to potential damage. I love lead guitars, right? Who doesn't, right? Who doesn't love a nice hardcore lead guitar? But what I wanted to portray in this song wasn't just kind of like that fast, lead licks. What I wanted to convey was a sound of sorrow. So I wanted that, it was intentional that lead guitar kind of came in very long, drawn out notes that sounded like it was crying, because that's what I wanted to portray, like this sorrow, this cry out, while it kind of hovers over, kind of like underline the bridge, where it's basically saying, we'll never be the same again, and it just kind of repeats, and it's just like going over in someone's mind that no matter what I did, and because of what I done, this is never going to be the same again. It's never going to be the same again. And just like try to wrap your mind around that understanding that what you've done just can never be undone. And no matter how much you try to fix it, even if you do fix it, There's gonna be weak parts to it, and it's never gonna be the same. It's never gonna act right. It's never gonna be replicated, whatever you initially had. And the reason why I chose this song to be the title track of the album is for two reasons. One, again, it was one of the first songs that I kind of stepped into songwriting, and the idea of the album itself is a journey from being in one place mentally to another. And when you walk along that journey, in every adventure that you hear of or read about or see in like a movie or any media, the protagonist learns from that journey and never is the same, right? Because they've learned so much and they've experienced so much that it changes them. So Never Be the Same was decided. I decided that it was the title track because I wanted to communicate that this album is a journey from one place to another, and in that journey the hero is forever affected, and they will never be the same. With that, thank you for joining me on Lyrics on the Go as we kind of went behind the music and Never Be the Same. Thank you.